proving triangles are congruent? So first, always mark the diagram with the given information. Always mark the diagram with any other information you can draw based on theorems, postulates, or definitions. Come up with a plan and decide what postulate can be used to prove the triangles are congruent. After you've done 1 through 3, start writing your proof. So here are just hints and suggestions when you are completing proofs. The quiz just has 1 proof on it, and you can choose 1 of 2. Gabriel, I saw your message in Canvas. I will reply to it after class. Actually, I can just answer it now. Gabriel asked, where can I find all the theorems, postulates, proofs, all of that? So if you remember, I need to update it for this unit. So I'll put that on my to-do list for today. But reference sheet by unit through unit 3. So I'll need to update it for unit 4. But here are, come on, I want to open, yeah, there we go. Come on. So here are all of the theorems, postulates, properties. It's a lot. Geometry is so vocabulary heavy. I suggest making little cheat sheets for you. Like not only having these, but writing down what the definitions are and writing an example. All right, so one that we use a lot from Unit 1, let's see, where is the property, or from Unit 2 is the reflexive property. We use that a ton this unit, all right? And then, yeah, so I'll update it and add it. Where is Unit 3? Or I feel like Unit 3 should also be on here. Okay, I'm going to make a note to update that and make sure that Unit 3 and Unit 4 is on that as well. But also in the textbook, in the notes, you can also find all of them as well. I like that the textbook like highlights and puts them in red, so it makes it a little bit easier to identify. But yeah, textbook, notes, and then the reference sheet has them all listed. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's do example 1. So in this example, you are only asked to prove the triangle's congruent. So first, we are going to mark what we're given. We're going to come up with a plan, and then we are going to start our proof. You can copy and paste the symbol notations from above if that makes writing the proof easier. So first things first, we need to mark up the diagram with our given information. So segment AB is perpendicular to YZ. So I'm going to go ahead and put a right angle on angle 1. If you want to also put a right angle on angle 2, you can go ahead and do that. All right, that's the first part of the given. And then next part of the given, segment AB bisects angle YBZ. Remember that for angles, the middle letter is always the vertex, so if it bisects the angle, then angle 3 is congruent with angle 4. All right, are we good so far?
Yeah.
All right, now we have to mark on the diagram any additional information based on postulates, theorems, definitions, properties. So what else can I mark on this diagram?
The line in the center is technically 2 lines, so it would make those 2 congruent or like equal.
Yep.
I guess.
So segment AB is congruent to segment AB because of the reflexive property. Yep. So now let's look. So I've marked all of my given information. I marked any additional information. And now I can go ahead and determine what postulate I can use. So looking here, I have an angle. I have a side, or I have an included side, and I have an angle. So that's angle, side, angle. Looking at my bottom triangle, I have an angle. have an included side. Notice that the side's in between the two angles, and I have an angle. So I can prove these two triangles are congruent by angle, side, angle. Are we good so far before we write our proof?
Yes.
All right, and actually, these proofs are also in regular geometry. So far, everything we've done in this unit is regular geometry. There's 2 units in regular geometry that do proofs, and this is one of them. All right, so now we are just going to fill in everything we just said and everything that we just marked. So would anyone like to share what would they do first? You would do what? The givens, okay. And then Ava, I'll go to you. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag and paste. If you don't want to paste it, you can always just write it out like segment AB is perpendicular. All right, and the reason for that is given. All right, so after we looked at that given, on our diagram, we marked that angle 1 and angle 2 were both right angles, correct? So I can say, I'm going to copy and paste this angle symbol. So angle 1 and angle 2 are right angles. Okay. And that is the definition of perpendicular lines. All right. So if angle 1 and angle 2 are right angles, then we can say that they are congruent, right? So angle 1, I'm just going to copy this congruent symbol, is congruent to angle 2. Definition of right angles. So there I have an angle. So I'm going to put an A in parentheses. And now let's look at the side. So side, I know that segment AB is congruent. I'm just copying and pasting to segment AB, and that was said the reflexive property. Abby, or was it Ava? I forgot to go back to you. I'm sorry, I forgot. All right, and that is my, okay, so that is my side. So angle, side, and now angle. Just for the purpose of space, are you guys fine with putting both of the given at the beginning? There we go. Eek. All right. And it does weird things with the typing, like it separates the word bisect, but that's okay. All right. So now we need to have another, there we go. So what can we mark on our diagram because segment AB bisects angle YBZ? What did we say?
Angle 3 is congruent to angle 4.
Yep, angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. So angle 3, I'm just copying and pasting these symbols, is congruent to angle 4. And what is that? Well, if it bisects it, definition of angle bisector. All right, and that is my angle. So when you do proofs, I recommend writing in parentheses what It is. So do you see how I was doing angle, side, angle? So I said I had an angle, a side, and an angle. Because then you know you have everything that you need for the proof. So now that I have proven that the triangles are congruent by angle, side, angle, I can finish off my proof. So triangle AYB is congruent to triangle AZB because of angle, side, angle, congruency postulate, or you can just say angle, side, angle. All right, so between the proofs that we've done in the past and these, I actually think these are a little bit easier because you already come up with a plan beforehand. You know that it's going to be angle, side, angle, 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 side, angle, side, or side, side, side. And you can really come up with the entire proof and the plan for it before you even start. I think it's way more confined to what it could possibly be. All right, any questions on this first one? All right. So sometimes you're only asked to prove triangles are congruent. Well, actually, it should say slide 5. Other times, you will be asked to deduce information about segments or angles once you have shown the two triangles are congruent. So once you have proven two triangles congruent, then corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. You can shorthand that by saying CPCTC. So that means all the angles that correspond with each other, that match with each other, are congruent. All the sides that correspond or match with each other are also congruent. So let's look at example 7. So this is the proof we just did. Okay, notice how I have a different reason for angle 1 and angle 2 being congruent, which is totally fine because remember I've said in the past that there are often more than one way to approach a proof. So this is the proof that we just did. So let's look at example 1 again. What if you were asked to show that segment YB is congruent to segment ZB? What additional information would we have to add? So we've already proven that the triangles are congruent. So if the triangles are congruent, then all the corresponding parts are congruent. So after we've proven the triangle is congruent, I know that all of the sides are congruent as well. Or all the corresponding sides, should I say. So I can say that segment YB is congruent to segment ZB because corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. I'll tell you right now that on your quiz, there'll be something like this where you have to prove that the triangles are congruent and then 1 or 2 more additional pieces of information. Okay, does everyone understand what CPCTC means? Once you've proven the triangles are congruent, then all of the corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, all of the corresponding sides are congruent. Okay, because we have shown that these triangles are congruent. All right, questions on that? Okay, let's go ahead and look at another one, and then you can try one on your own. All right, so go ahead and take a look at it for a second. And I want all of you to first mark on the diagram all the given information. And see if you can decide, based on marking up the diagram, how we are going to prove that these triangles are congruent. So everyone should be marking on the diagram and seeing if they can determine. You don't need to do the proof yet. I'll do the proof with you. But if you can just decide by what postulate or theorem can we prove these triangles are congruent. All right, looking at the diagrams, I see a lot of good markings, and then I see some that I want to point out that are not correct yet. Okay, so let's see. All right, so Peter, make sure that you read the directions. It's saying that segment AB is parallel to segment DC. You did AD is parallel to BC. That's what we're trying to prove. So that should not be marked on your diagram. Let's see, I'll look at, oops. Do what? Oh, there we go. All right, I want to pull up Yelgoons for a second. So, Yelgoon, I have a question for you that maybe you can answer. Why didn't you mark angle 2 and angle 3 congruent? I'm going to put you on the spot if that's okay. Because a lot of students are marking angle 2 being congruent to angle 3. Why did you not mark that?
Well, we don't need to mark it because if we do mark it, it would be kind of confusing because it could be angle side, angle side. So why I didn't mark it because it would be less confusing for me.
Okay. Anyone else? Marcos?
I didn't mark 2 and 3 because I don't really think you can prove that they're equal right now. Maybe you can, but you can definitely prove that 1 and 4 are equal because they have the 2 lines next to them. Well, they have the parallel lines, which are equal, and then the middle line, which is equal to itself, which makes the angle equal on both sides.
So close. Anyone else? You are so on the right track. Anyone else? Why can we mark angle 1 and angle 4 congruent, but not angle 2 and angle 3? Moya?
I think it's because there's like nothing in the given that can prove that.
Yes. Yep. There is nothing in the given that can prove that, and let me go ahead and show you why. So if you all could look at my screen for a second. So first we are told that, I'll just mark the obvious ones. Segment BA is congruent to segment CD or DC because of the reflexive property. AC is congruent to AC. And now let's look at the given. Okay. AB is parallel to DC. So if I have a set of parallel lines, let me change the color. Okay, here are my parallel lines. All right, and they are cut by a transversal. Then, because of alternate interior angles, remember we can go the parallel line to the transversal, parallel line to the transversal. we can't do that with angle 2 and angle 3 because do we know that side AD and side BC are parallel? We don't know that yet. That's what we're trying to prove. So we do not have enough information to say that angle 2 is congruent to angle 3 because side AD, we have not proven that it's parallel to side BC. Yalgoon, do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, the proof, what we're trying to prove, it says we're trying to prove AD is parallel to CD.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, do you mean AD is parallel to CB?
Oh my goodness. What is up with me and typos? Is that what you were going to say too?
That tripped me up too.
Ah, well, good thing we haven't gone to that yet. But yes, you are correct. Goodness gracious. I think I need to double and triple check my stuff more. This is like the second lesson where I've messed up on something like that. All right. Yes, but we'll get to that in a second. All right. So are we good so far with marking the diagram and why I cannot mark angle 2 and angle 3 are congruent?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at what we have. We have a side, an included angle, and a side. We have a side, an included angle, and a side. So we are going to prove that the triangles are congruent first, and then we'll go back and prove what we're trying to prove. All right? So first, let's go ahead and we can start with our given. AB is parallel to DC, and that is given. Okay? Because they are parallel, we were able to say that, do I have an angle symbol here I can copy? No. I'm going to go back and copy the angle symbol from the previous page, if you want to do that too. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 because of alternate interior angles. So that's an angle. And again, you don't have to go in the order. Like this one, just because of how I started, it's not going to go in the same order. Marcos, do you have a question?
I think you mean angle 4.
I do mean angle 4. Thank you. Moya, is that what you were going to say?
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. All right, so alternate interior angles. There's my A right there. All right. What else can I write down? I need to show my two sides now.
You could say that CA is equal to CA because of the reflexive property.
All right. Yep. So you can just write segment CA if you don't want to worry about copying the symbols or anything. It's congruent to segment CA. Yep, because of the reflexive property. And that's a side. All right, so there I have my side. Now I need to show one more side is congruent. And I can just use my given. And that is my other side. So side, angle, side. I have my side, my angle, and my side. So I have proven that these two triangles are congruent because of side, angle, side, congruency postulates. Now remember, order does matter. Do we all understand why it is side, angle, side, and not side, side, angle, or anything else? All right. So we've proven that the triangles are congruent. Now we are trying to prove that AD, sorry, it should say BC, is parallel to BC. So I'm going to mark what we are trying to prove in black. So we're trying to prove that these two sides are parallel. Well, since these triangles are congruent now, then all their corresponding parts are congruent. So that would mean that angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. So why is angle 2 congruent to angle 3? We've proven the triangles are congruent, so all of their corresponding parts are congruent. So corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. All right, so now if angle 2 is congruent with angle 3, then I know, it should say CB, that side AD, is parallel to side CB because of alternate interior angles. That is just horrendous spelling, huh? It's actually the converse, but I don't mark off if you write the converse or not. All right, so to recap, we marked our given. We marked any additional information. We decided by what postulate we can prove the triangles are congruent. Then we started our proof. After we proved that the triangles are congruent, then all their corresponding parts are congruent. So that would make angle 3 congruent with angle 2. Okay, because of alternate interior angles theorem, I can now prove that the two other lines or sides are parallel. All right, any questions on example 3 before you try one on your own? All right, go ahead to slide 9, and you are going to fill in the proof, and you're going to check your answers on the next slide. So first you are proving that the triangles are congruent. Then what additional information would you need to show that y is the midpoint of segment xz?
Ms. Schuster,
Yes.
for the second part, you wrote WY equals YU. Did you mean to put YB?
Oh yeah, there is no u, is there? Yeah. That's a little bit more sorry guys, yeah. Well, good thing there's no U. So yeah, that would be a V. All right. Anyone have any questions? It looks like most of you are well on your way. Anyone want me to check their diagram or check what they have so far to make sure that they're on the right track? So if you are stuck, I'm going to go ahead and mark up the diagram if you want to take a look. So we are told that segment ZV is parallel to WX. So I'm going to draw a set of parallel lines. And Y is the midpoint of WV. So if Y is the midpoint, then I know that WY is congruent to YV. So that's all the given information. Then additional information, I know that because of vertical angles, angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. And then I know that if I have two parallel lines cut by the transversal, if I go parallel line to the transversal, parallel line to the transversal, angle 2 is congruent to angle 4 because of alternate interior angles. So these are the only things you should have marked on your diagram, nothing else, until you prove that the triangles are congruent. All right, great job. For those who are still working, feel free to finish up, but I know some of you are done, so I just want to go over what you have to do for the remainder of class. So lesson 2 assignment, if you click on Unit 4 calendar and content, scroll down to today's date, click on the red link for the assignment. You'll continue to practice identifying triangle congruents and proving triangles are congruent. This is due Monday, February 1st. It's a great review for your quiz. And then quiz next class, there is an optional Unit 4 quiz review. Lesson 1 and 2 assignments are also great practice. Don't forget about the textbook sections. And I also, since I made this, I posted additional practice as well on campus. If you want, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at your quiz, and I can just give you general. I'm not always going to do this, but I'll do it this time. Let's see. Courses. All right. If you are, as I'm pulling this up, I highly encourage and recommend that you use asynchronous class time the next 30 minutes or so to get a start on the assignment. Assignment covers a lot of what we did last class and this class. And if you are still having trouble, then I would recommend going to Math Lab today during lunch and tomorrow during lunch. And you can also conference with me as well if you email me and set up an appointment. But definitely take advantage of those resources. And yeah. And if I haven't checked your Desmos yet from lesson 1, the answer keys are there. All right, so your quiz is 14 questions. There is 7 questions about exactly what we did last class in the warm-up and in the first part of your homework tonight, stating if triangles are congruent and why. Then you have a congruency statement. And then you have 2, sometimes, always, never. You have another congruency statement. You have an algebra problem based on a congruency statement. And then you have a proof. So I cannot stress enough, draw out the diagrams, mark the diagrams, really practice the assignment for today and the additional practice if you need it. That will help you out so much. All right, that is it for synchronous class time. Does anyone have